Welcome back to Screen Rant. From theme parks to movies and television shows, Disney is a worldwide behemoth reaching audiences from all different countries. Broadcasting shows like Gravity Falls isn't as simple as beaming out the same episodes to different audiences, though. The episodes shown outside the United States may have some subtle and not so subtle changes based on censorship, language barriers, and acceptable broadcast content. Throughout both seasons of Gravity Falls, there have been several edits, including some surprising choices and even some alternate names for Mabel's beloved pet pig Waddles. So let's enter the Mystery Shack and see what's in store. One of the more pivotal moments of Gravity Falls is the Season 2 mid-season finale entitled Not What He Seems. Dipper and Mabel uncover some major clues in the episode about their grunkle Stan and the secret lab he's been working in under the Mystery Shack. As the sibling duo uncovers multiple secrets, they come across newspaper headlines and clippings. One of the biggest reveals is the headline which reads, "Stan Pines dead." There's clearly something Stan has been hiding, and the dramatic headline drives this point home. Only, if you were watching in Latin America, the headline would be slightly less dramatic. On the episode that aired, the translated headline reads, "The End of Stan Pines," instead of using a stronger word like dead. Even though we clearly know Stan and his brother Ford have not passed away, the big bold lettering may have been just a little too much for children in various countries like Brazil, Colombia, and Peru. One of the core settings in Gravity Falls is the Mystery Shack. Stan's tourist trap is not only where he keeps his secret lab, but it's the location where Dipper and Mabel spend their summer adventures. The shack is truly an essential part of the show, and the building itself is so iconic that fans petitioned to have a Lego version of the shack made. But if you were to bring up the Mystery Shack to Gravity Falls fans across the globe, they might not fully understand you. The reason? The Mystery Shack goes by some completely different names all over the world. For example, in Arabic-speaking countries, the shack is referred to as the Mystery Hut. Some of the characters shorten the name even further, referring to it as the Hut. If that was done in the US, then we'd all think Gravity Falls had a major tie-in deal with Pizza Hut. In Dutch, the building is known as the Riddle Shack. In Italy, it's known as the Mystery Kingdom. Kinda like Disney's Magic Kingdom, but with a little suspense tossed in. It seems like every country takes one part of the name and then substitutes it with something more fitting for their language. Japan continues this trend by referring to the building as the Mystery House, while Russia calls it the Wonders Shack. Who knew one building could have so many different names? All of the characters on Gravity Falls have their signature looks, and we cannot imagine seeing things any different. There's Dipper's pine tree hat, Mabel's evolving world of colorful sweaters, and Seuss's question mark shirt, among others. For Stan, he has his signature glasses, and he often pairs them with a fez. The fez typically has a symbol on it, which looks like a mix between a fish design or some type of riff on Pac-Man. The whole design is really based off of a group known as the Shriners. The group was formerly known as the Ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, and is a society of members known for wearing their signature fez hats. Along with meetings and planning, the Shriners were known for a lot of community service projects and making areas a better place for people and families. While the group is positive in nature and helps bring a lot of focus to children's hospitals, the focus on Middle Eastern themes and design may bring up a lot of controversy around the world. So when Stan's fez was being animated in other countries, the symbol of the hat was often removed. The main area where the symbol was edited out was in Southeast Asia. So Stan wears a blank fez in a majority of the episodes just for fashion choices apparently. Disney runs a pretty tight ship when it comes to curse words, including in America and in various other countries. But some locations may be a little more strict than others. Take for example the word sucker, or sucka if we're getting a little more technical about it. 2 different episodes use the word, and it is edited out of several international versions of the show. The first example is found in the episode The Deep End. When Stan, Seuss, and Dipper discover Wendy as the town's lifeguard, she brags a little, exclaiming, "I make the rules, sucka!" The edited line ends up being, "I make the rules," although her mouth still emphasizes the sucka, even though no words actually come out of it. And then in the episode Dreamscaperers, Bill Cipher haunts the mind of Stan and faces off against Mabel, Dipper, and Seuss when they enter his mind as well. Bill showcases his plans for retrieving a secret safe combination and then disappears while saying, "Later, suckers!" The line is shortened down to just later, making Bill seem a little more friendly than we're all used to. The word may seem pretty harmless, but children's restrictions are enforced heavily across the globe, even with some of the more silly words or insults. If you thought the word sucko was a bit too much for the censor board, just imagine how strange it must be to have to edit out the word butt faces. Yep, pretty much the go-to 3rd grade playground lingo had to be censored from the very first episode of the show, Tourist Trapped. The scene in question occurs when the gnomes capture Mabel and tie her down like a giant in Gulliver's Travels. She calls the gnomes a bunch of butt faces, but the butt was seemingly too harsh for viewing audiences in the Southeast Asia region. Instead of rewriting the line or adding anything different, the word butt is cut. So Mabel can be heard telling these gnomes they're just a bunch of faces. What does that even mean? There had to have been a better word to replace butt faces with. Jerks? Doo-doo heads? Creepy little gnomes? But just faces? This wasn't the only line cut in the episode either. Earlier in the scene, Dipper asks,
"What the heck is going on here?"
In a cut line that makes a little more sense, the word heck is removed and the line that's left is what's going on here. This one actually flows a lot better, and there isn't a huge difference when matching the animated voices. One of the signature side characters in Gravity Falls is Mabel's beloved pet pig, Waddles. The pig adds a lot of laughs to the show and some heartwarming moments, including the goodbye scenes in the series finale. Only thing is, if you're discussing Waddles with someone from another country, they may not have any clue who you're talking about. The pig was renamed in numerous countries, all with various names that are not like Waddles at all. Considering Germany, for instance. They fat-shame the poor pig and refer to him simply as Flab. In Bulgaria, they insult the pig further, giving him a name which translates to clumsy. In Czech, his name is either Fat or Piggy. Can we at least get a cute name similar to Waddles? Well, in Brazil, they refer to him as Ginga, which translates to a form of swinging. Pretty close to waddling, we guess. And now we're back to more insults, with Portugal referring to the character as Chubby. And then there's some countries who don't seem to know what animal he actually is. In Argentina, Waddles is referred to as Pato, which actually translates to duck. The translation of the pig name is confusing and funny, but out of all of them, we'll still stick to Waddles, the perfect name for the brave little piggy. One of the earliest mysteries on Gravity Falls was finding the culprit of the decapitation of the Grunkle Stan wax figure. When police were no help, Dipper and Mabel decide to get on the case and discover exactly who chopped off the head of the wax man. Their adventures lead them to many different locations, including a biker bar named Skull Fracture. To get in, the characters obtain some fake IDs. In a great cutaway gag, we spot the club's bouncer saying minors are not allowed. We think he's talking to Mabel and Dipper about their age as minors, but a quick cut shows the bouncer is talking to a literal pickaxe-wielding minor. Frustrated at his denial, the minor spits on the ground before walking away. The whole spitting scene and cutaway gag has been cut from several countries in the Southeast Asia portions of the world. While spitting is more accepted in the culture there, the countries may have viewed it as an insult or mocking action that was just cut to avoid any controversy. It's too bad though. The gag was quite funny and a nice twist after making us viewers think Mabel and Dipper were about to get caught with their fake IDs. If you want a dark and twisted episode of Gravity Falls, then just check out the Dreamscaperers. We already talked about how the line "suckers" was cut from the episode, but there is an even bigger moment cut as well. In the episode, we have Gideon calling upon Bill Cipher using some type of ritual, multiple characters going into the mind of Stan, and some crazy visuals including Mabel's head turned giant and mutated. For Seuss, the biggest nightmare was probably the creepy bulldog man that Bill Cipher creates before his very eyes. Thankfully, Dipper comes to save the day, showcasing that all of the characters have powers inside Stan's mind. One of his first actions? Using those powers to eliminate the bulldog man and make him disappear for good. Seuss's reaction line is cut from many countries where he says,
He's dead now.
Guess those countries didn't want children to think the fictional dog man was killed by Dipper. Maybe they would assume he was zapped to another dimension or sent to an upstate farm where he would live out the rest of his days with other dogs who had human-like qualities. Either way, Seuss just kinda stands there instead of having a reaction to the evil creature who probably still haunts his dreams. After the episode Dreamscaperers, Gideon ends up taking over the Mystery Shack when he captures the deed to the property. With the shack in his hands, literally, we get to the Season 1 finale, Gideon Rises. To help protect his newfound piece of land, Gideon puts up fences and uses huge guards to prevent others from getting on the property. So when Mabel and Dipper need to get the shack back, they turn to some little warriors in the forest, the gnomes. The gnomes are able to get through the gates with ease. And while Seuss's line about the bulldog death seemed a little bit much, the censored scene here actually makes a lot of sense. Two huge bodyguards are taken out when gnomes use their pointed hats to literally stab them in the back. The guards fall flat down, incapacitated, almost like they were just fatally stabbed. Ouch. The gnome stabbing was pretty graphic, and even though the shot is quick, children could easily pick up on some of the ultra-violence. So instead of seeing the gnomes stabbed straight into the spine, the scene cuts to the rest of the little guys bursting through the fence Gideon put up. A horde of living dead zombies is a tough challenge to take on. We've seen the dead march along in Dawn of the Dead, The Walking Dead, and countless other zombie movies. But Gravity Falls seems to have found the ultimate solution: karaoke. Yep, in the Season 2 premiere Karaoke, Mabel, Dipper, and Stan use their singing talents to stop the invading zombies. But the singing doesn't just scare the zombies away, it makes their heads explode! In a great mix of singing and gore, we watch as zombie heads explode left and right. While the scene is played for laughs and glowing slime is used instead of blood, there is definitely just cause for some censorship. A single zombie may have made the cut, but head explosion after head explosion was a bit much. So for international versions of the show, the close-ups of these zombies were removed. Instead, some of the quick shots of the zombies holding their ears and screaming were just looped and placed with intercuts of the main characters singing. Oddly, you can still hear the zombies' head exploding. They just don't show anything on the screen. So international audiences need to have a little bit more of an active imagination to get an idea of just how those zombies were all defeated. The zombie head explosions were not the only thing cut from the episode's Karaoke. Apparently, the Season 2 premiere had to go through a lot of cuts before being ready for the rest of the world to see. Most of the cuts had to do with Stan's lines and some of the harsh language used towards the children and other characters. For example, early in the episode, Stan uses the line "darn kid," and the whole phrase gets cut out of the story. Then there's the odd line,
"But I didn't catch that pork chop all alone,"
where the word pork was removed and edited as "but I didn't catch that chop all alone." One of the biggest cuts comes just after the zombies get destroyed during the Karaoke sing-along. Stan yells out,
"Deal with it, zombie idiots!"
The line removes the word idiots, but the zombie needs to be plural, so the final censored line ends up being something like, "Deal with it, zombie-its." What are zombie-its? A zombie idiot? The edited line may work even better than the original. It was the couple that never was. For multiple episodes, we saw Dipper Pines pine for the older Wendy. We all knew this crush was going to end in heartbreak for the younger 12-year-old, but we still rooted for him all along the way. And the show kept giving us great teasers and moments, but none more than the episode Into the Bunker. The episode featured shapeshifters, a fake Wendy, and some very close moments between the two characters. But for some international viewers, one of the more awkward and close moments between the duo was cut from the episode. In the cold open of Into the Bunker, Wendy and Dipper watch a zombie movie on TV. Dipper plops backwards on the bed after failing to reveal his feelings to Wendy, and it turns out he landed right on her bra. The scene was funny and helped set up the plot to come, but the animated bra was deemed to be too much for young eyes, so it was cut completely from the episode. Edits are different in various countries, so some countries got rid of the cold open altogether while others just cut away before he lands on the bra. And if you thought the opening scene already cut out a lot of Into the Bunker, then you would be surprised to know that even more of the episode was cut, including some pivotal moments. Yep, we're talking about the truly scary shapeshifter Wendy, Dipper, Seuss, and Mabel encounter deep underground. While we wouldn't argue cutting out the whole creature itself, especially some of those spider transformations, it's actually some of Dipper's actions that get censored in other countries like India. When the shapeshifter turns into Wendy and pits itself against the real Wendy in a battle over obtaining Journal 3, Dipper must decide which Wendy to attack with an axe. You know, the typical conflict we've all dealt with at one point in our lives. Anyway, Dipper figures out who the fake Wendy is and attacks it with a brutal axe chop to the gut. Some type of bloody, slimy mix comes pouring out as the shapeshifter perishes. And holy cow, how did Disney air this in any country? That was pretty gory, especially if you thought it was the real Wendy for the first couple of moments. It was a pretty brutal move, and the censored version likely features a quick cut where we assume Dipper destroyed the shapeshifter without actually seeing the carnage. Thankfully, when cutaway gags are removed from an episode, it doesn't take much away from the plot of the story. This is the case with The Golf War, the Gravity Falls classic centered around the competitive world of minigolf. Before we get to see any golf action, we're introduced to the exterior of the course thanks to Robbie. Robbie is busy tagging with some spray paint, but there's nothing artistic about what he's making. Once he moves to the side, we can see he's writing the word wieners on the minigolf entrance. Along with the offensive tag, Robbie gets chased down by a golf cart driven by the Mattress King. With Robbie off screen, we hear the Mattress King reference his lewd hand gestures, and we can pretty much assume that he's flipping the bird. Either way, both the distasteful graffiti and hand gesture dialogue was removed from the episode. We basically start at the minigolf course with Mabel and Dipper and stay with them. Robbie won't be collecting any international royalties anytime soon. In the world of Gravity Falls, nothing is like it seems, and this even goes for the majestic unicorns. It turns out they can be real jerks, and pretty violent on top of it. We get a glimpse into their life through the episode The Last Mabelcorn. In the story, Mabel wants to collect the hair of a unicorn to help protect the Mystery Shack from Bill Cipher. Turns out, the only way the unicorn will give some hair is if Mabel has a pure heart. To help accomplish the impossible task, Mabel begins doing all different acts of kindness. In the quick cut montage, she saves some snails, plants a tree, and donates multiple bags of blood. The quick shot of the blood donation showcased an IV coming out of her arm and a doctor holding multiple bags of the blood. Apparently, the visual was too much and was cut completely from the montage. A line later in the episode referring to the blood donation was also cut. You know, in case some children try to start donating blood of their own. The quick shots of blood and an IV makes a little sense to censor, but maybe a longer scene explaining the situation would have been allowed as opposed to just a quick cut. Wow, shows are completely different all over the world. Just keep these in mind the next time you're on an international vacation. What censored scenes were the most surprising? Anything else you think should have been censored? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Screen Rant for more great content. Thanks for watching.